Food Pantry again, and we're back with our next episode in Our Living Pantry. And tonight is quick pickles. It is super hot outside. We've had a bit of a heat wave, so the garden is producing like crazy. And Pat is going to show us how to cool things down and eat well. Pat, what have you got in store for us tonight?
Yeah, exactly as you say, we're going to show you how to quick pickle with lots of other ingredients other than pickles. And we're going to show you a couple of different brines. We are going to teach you how to take all those tomatoes that are rolling out of your gardens and freeze them up so that you can use them in the winter time for sauces and that sort of thing. We're going to make a warm tomato salad again with our smaller cherry tomatoes that are coming out of the garden. And we're going to end with a cool gazpacho.
Sounds delicious. And Chef Brian is with us as well again tonight. And Chef, any comments?
This not only is going to be tasty, but everything that we eat tonight is going to be super healthy as well. All these fresh ingredients, tomatoes loaded with vitamin C and lycopene and carrots and onions. It's going to be delicious.
So many people don't know this, but pickling is not only a way to preserve your harvest and extend it, but it is also really healthy for your gut because it helps restore pH balance and helps you digest food easily and more efficiently. So, you know, it checks a lot of boxes, and I'm glad you're joining us.
Tonight we're starting with our carrots. We have rainbow carrots. As you can see, they're all different colors. Look at that beautiful yellow inside that purple. It's just gorgeous. You don't have to use rainbow carrots. You can use all orange. That's perfectly fine. We're also adding some fresh sliced bell pepper to add in with this. So what we want to do is we really want to get these carrots very thinly sliced, because the thinner the slice, the quicker the pickle. If they're too thickly sliced, that brine in pickling liquid isn't going to permeate into the carrots and give it that flavor we want. It will just be blah. So this is a mandolin, which is what we're going to use tonight to slice the carrots. This has many functions. You can do slicing, you can cut little batons, you can do what are called gaufrettes, which are lattice type potato chips with this. They're very versatile. You can get, this one was probably like a $200 mandolin. You can get a cheap one online for probably $20. So we'll start with this. This usually has a guard on it, which if you feel comfortable, you just slide that down. But with these carrots, it's because of the shape of them, it's kind of difficult. So I'm gonna be brave and go without the guard tonight. So I've already got my depth set. If you wanna come down and take a look at that, I just got a handle up below that. And
It's about 1/8 of an inch.
I'd say if that, it's pretty thin. Like Pat said, you want these nice and thin to get a quick pickle going. So just go down and slice just like that. And just beware where that blade is, because your hand's gonna be getting closer and closer to the blade as you go. And now you can see how thinly sliced those are. So that's really gonna absorb all that nice flavor we get for our brine. And if you don't have a mandolin, you can always use a knife. And I can show you how to do that real quick. And those beautiful colors. So if you did have a knife, you can start with smaller pieces. And in our prior shows, we talked about keeping your fingers close in. So just roll that knife down, and that knife's gonna ride on your knuckle. And that way you're gonna have an even slice every time. And see, we've got the same thickness. You can even do it with a knife. You don't need a real expensive piece of kitchen equipment. So I'm gonna finish slicing these carrots up, and then we're gonna move on to brining them. Over to our brine. Tonight for our carrots and our peppers, we're using a hot brine. That consists of 1 cup of apple cider vinegar, 1 cup of water, 1.5 tablespoons of salt, and 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. We're using a hot brine in this recipe because that's what actually makes it a quick pickle. It's gonna break down those carrots fast enough so that flavor can permeate into the flesh of the carrot and just slam it with all kinds of flavor. So as we assemble, we've got our mason jars, our already sliced carrots, and our already cut up peppers. We're just gonna alternate our ingredients in the jar.
They look pretty.
And all these gorgeous colors. fill it about 3/4 of the way.
You can pack them in.
All right, next. Okay. And here comes the hot brine. Smells delicious.
Smell that vinegar. I hear it, see it pickling as we speak. The nice thing about that brine is that you don't just use it one time. You can use that brine 2 or 3 times to really get your money's worth out of it. Just keep it in a closed container after you've gone through that jar of pickles, whatever it is, reserve, strain it, reserve it, and use it again, maybe 3 times.
There you have it. Quick pickle. Nice rainbow carrots and bell pepper.
Those will be ready in half an hour, but in a day or so, they'll be even better.
What are you making, Pat?
I'm gonna just do basic cucumbers and onions. So I'm gonna talk to you about cucumbers and onions and a few other things. Cucumbers and onions are a little more delicate, so we're gonna do the quick pickle, but we're gonna use a room temperature brine. Same recipe that Brian used, the 1-to-1 ratio on the vinegar to water and an even ratio of sugar to salt. So I now am going to show you about my mandolin, which is a less expensive model. I've had it for probably 20 years and it was really inexpensive and it just lasts and lasts and lasts. It's got interchangeable parts like Brian's mandolin and it's easy to throw in the dishwasher, and again, I just use it over and over again. But if you don't have a mandolin, just like Brian said, you can use your knife to thinly slice your cucumbers and your onions. So I've already done up some onions here, thinly sliced, and that room temperature brine is gonna do nicely on those. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about different types of cucumbers. This is a Persian cucumber here. It's got a very delicate skin and we never have to take the skin off of these. This is a Kirby cucumber, which is often called the pickling cucumber. It's what lots of people, use, most people use when they're pickling dill pickles, making dill pickles. But for today, we're gonna use both of them. The other thing that we didn't have was a regular cucumber, a big, large cucumber that are often seedy. So in place of that, we do have a zucchini, and I'm gonna show you what we would do a little bit first on these. So if I had big seeds and a big cucumber or this zucchini, I'm gonna take out those seeds because we don't really need those, and I'm gonna make spears. So we're gonna do some spears up in one of our pickles. And again, we're gonna put those on their sides, and this on a bias, take out the bigger seeds, cut those up so they make nice spears. Take the big seeds out, and we'll be ready with that with zucchini, which is a fine option for pickling as well. So we're gonna hold those aside for a minute. I'll come back to those. In the meantime, we're gonna talk about our Kirby's.
Pat, why are they called Kirby's?
I don't know, Brian. Do you know, Pam?
I do not know. I've always called them pickling cubes.
Yeah, me too.
It's just the variety. So these we don't have to take, we're not gonna have to take out the seeds because they're nice and small and tender. But we're gonna get them ready for some spears again. And get those ready to go. I'm gonna pull over one of my jars, throw those right in. Those will be ready for quick pickling. Put those aside. Now I'm gonna use my mandolin and I'm gonna use one of these little Persian cucumbers. These are mini cucumbers, they're called Persian, I think because of the area that they grew first. I am gonna start off not with a guard either and just go fast, fast, fast. Again, blooper. The thinner the slice, the quicker the pickle. Beautiful little slices. I'm gonna add those over here to my onions. And we can use a Kirby with that as well. Show you what they look like when we slice them up.
So I will say the Kirby's or the quick pickles are the ones that we commonly grow in our gardens here, and they're super easy to grow too. One vine will give you probably 2 to 3 pickles every few days, 2 to 3 pickling cubes every few days.
Nice. Yeah, they're prolific. When they come, they really come. That's why we need to do things with them, and pickling is one of those things that are really easy and fun to do. And these kinds of pickles will stay in the brine in your jars for about 6 weeks, which is a really nice thing. So I'm really in a pickle here, and I'm going to continue on my way with jarring these pickles and onions. I'm going to layer them up, our combination of our Kirby's and our Persian cukes. Just mix them all together. I'm going to throw some onions in as we go along, and I'm going to pack those in pretty tightly, just like Brian did with his.
Do these need to be refrigerated, Pat?
After we pickle, yes, all of these do need to be refrigerated. You can leave them out at room temperature for a few hours, but at the end of the day, at the end of the evening, they do need to go in the refrigerator. And again, these will last refrigerated for up to 6 weeks at least. Nice sweet onions we've got here, thinly sliced. And we should have enough here for the 2 and maybe some extras. We can save some onions for salad or throw them in the freezer to use for soups. Whatever we have left over will be good in a stock. Veggies will never go to waste, that's for sure. Right, Brian?
That's right.
Okay, we're packed to about that line, that 3/4 of the way full. And I brought this brine, as I mentioned, to room temperature. That way we're gonna get the more delicate, crispy crunchiness of the onion and the cucumber. And now those will be ready. And I'm gonna put some brine also in our zucchini. And I'm using a regular jar for that, as I spill all over. And I would bring that up. I'm gonna put some more brine in that eventually. But you don't have to use these fancy mason jars. I save jars, as you know, for all kinds of reasons. And that's a perfect reuse or repurpose of a regular jar. I'm going to take a break for a second, and I'm going to come back to you and talk to you about other things.
Before you do, Pat, using glass versus plastic jars for pickling. Are plastic okay? I know that peanut butter often come in a plastic jar, but we don't want to use plastic, right? We always look for glass.
Because you're going to get flavors that you can't get rid of in a plastic, and it'll taint the flavor of whatever you're doing.
So save whatever jar you like, but make sure it's a glass jar.
Okay. I'm going to talk to you about some things in addition to the carrots that Brian did and the red peppers and my basic cucumbers and onions. We've got a jar here of nice fresh green beans with some garlic. We've got those spears of zucchini. And we've got a jar that I've already been pickling of beets. The beets that are coming out of your garden are so great. You can roast them, you can boil them. We pre-pickled some. In the wintertime, you can buy these great pre-prepared beets. They're yummy, and they kind of look like this. I'm gonna cut one up for you. You could pickle these in slices. We did them today whole, but you can do them sliced or diced, however you want them. And don't they look pretty? Now we're gonna put those back in. And in this brine that I did, I added more sugar to the beet brine just because lots of people like these very sweet candied beets. So those are all ready to go. And I put some pickling spices in there. Pickling spices usually have dill seed, celery seed, coriander in it. So you can make your own, or you can buy these at the dollar store for $1.
Pat, did you use a hot brine or a room temperature
This
brine
one,
for the beets?
The beets, we did a hot brine because we wanted that to permeate in. And we are gonna use a hot brine for these as well. This is a hot brine now. So we're gonna go ahead and do warm brine, hot brine. You can see it kind of steaming away here. And I'm gonna need a little more brine. but we'll get to that. This is fine. You'll be able to see it. Doesn't matter. The other thing that I want to talk about is what we also did with the beet brine. We're in the process of beet brining some eggs. They're going to be pretty, they're going to be pink, and they're going to be pickled. They're going to be pickled pink. Say that 3 times.
Now we're going to work on what to do with our abundance of tomatoes that have come out of the garden. We've got tomatoes coming out of our ears, so we cannot possibly eat all these. So we need to do something with them so we don't spoil them and just don't lose them. So we're going to freeze them. We're going to show you how to do that. Over in the stove, I've got a pot of boiling water. I've got our tomatoes. Taking a knife and I put a little X just to score the skin in the bottom. That's going to help us peel these when they come out of the boiling water. So we go over here with our slotted spoon to our pot of boiling water. We're going to drop these tomatoes in for 60 seconds, just enough to get this skin to come off. Right from that water, we're going to take a slotted spoon, and we've got a pre-made ice bath ready to go to cool these tomatoes off. We don't want them to cook. So here we go. I know you can sing a song or something that lasts 60 seconds, whatever you're into. Pat's usually humming or whistling in the kitchen and keeping us happy.
1 a dozen, 2 a dozen, 3 a dozen.
So as these are in the boiling water, once they come out, we go in there, we're gonna core them, chop them up, and we're gonna put them into little freezer bags. And those are gonna go in the freezer and they're gonna last up to 12 to 18 months and they'll retain all their flavor. So what a great way to use up these tomatoes and not let them go to waste. Along
You're
with all
about
our
halfway there.
Yes. My timer says we're halfway there.
You're halfway there.
You can already see the skin start to blister on the tomatoes. So it's gonna make it nice and easy to peel right off. Some of these we're gonna quarter, some of them we're gonna dice up. You could slice them, as long as you get all the air out once we get them into these bags and get them nicely compressed, and that'll leave you with much more room in your freezer as well. Just about there, a couple more seconds.
10 more seconds.
Counting down.
When I do this in my kitchen, it's usually with about 20 or 30 pounds of tomatoes from the garden, and my kitchen looks like a murder scene afterwards. There's little bits of red everywhere. It's awful.
But the nice thing about doing this method, the freezing method, is that you don't have to invest in all that equipment to do a canning procedure, where you have to have jars and sterilization and lifters and tongs. So freezing is really a simple way to get, like Brian says, 12 months to 18 months out of your tomatoes.
Okay, we are ready for our ice bath. Look at that skin coming right off. Okay. Just gonna let these sit a minute and we'll be right back and we'll show you how to get them ready for the freezer. Tomatoes are ready to be peeled, cored, and chopped up to go in the freezer. So you can see it doesn't take any effort at all. That skin just comes right off. There's one there. Pick another one. And scoring that in and making that X marks just gives you a little head start and something to grab too when it comes out of the boiling water. Some of the times the skin's a little thicker than others. Okay. That's good. So move this out of the way. And we can take a paring knife and just core this out. Just go around, get rid of that stem and that tough piece that's in the middle, okay? Now, we can quarter these.
They look beautiful.
And we have a already set up quart-size plastic container with a quart-size sandwich bag, Ziploc bag, ready to roll.
Let's measure those up.
Which makes life quite easier.
Sorry. And that way you know how many cups you have in each bag in the freezer. So if you have a recipe that calls for 2 cups, you got it.
Good point. So, let's go for 2 cups. Keeping those fingers in as well the whole time. Okay.
Looks good.
2 cups. Right into our freezer bag.
Makes it so simple. You didn't have to fight or argue with it.
And the key with that is to squeeze all the air out of that bag to keep them fresh. And then having this container makes life easier. Now we didn't make a mess trying to get all these tomatoes into a bag that's sitting on the counter. So we'll start here and just press that air out, get them nice and flat like that.
And the nice thing about that freezer bag is you can date it and put right on it how many cups.
And then if you have a little aluminum pan, keep them nice and flat, and then you can stack them and retain as much room in the freezer as you can for all your other winter goodies that we're going to be freezing. So those were chopped. Pat, would you hook me up with another bag?
I certainly will.
These are all ready to roll. So these ones we can chop if you had a recipe. Maybe you wanted to make tacos in the middle of the winter, or a Mexican dish that called for chopped tomatoes and you couldn't get to the store. It was a blizzard outside, but now you've got them in the freezer and there's no worries. So choose the dice. You can go big dice, little dice, rocking that knife, keeping your fingers rolling. You can smell them, they smell so good. Okay, measure these up. Almost there. This guy should finish us off. Or again, like we mentioned in other episodes, if you don't want to use a big knife like this, feel free to use a paring knife. It's completely up to you.
So Brian, what is the consistency of these tomatoes like when they fall?
They stay pretty firm. You would think a lot of people might say, oh, they're gonna be all mushy when they come out of the freezer, but they actually come out nice and firm and almost as fresh as when they went in 12 months later, which is pretty impressive.
That is impressive.
Okay, there's 2 more cups of chopped tomatoes. Again, whatever recipe, tacos, soups, salads, chunky tomato sauce if you wanted to make that. Okay, we'll get all the air out of this one. Get it nice and flat. And again, like Pat said, if you wanted to date it, write 2 cups on there. Here we go.
There you go.
Today is 7:30. 22 cups.
Excellent.
And we're ready to roll for a nice blizzard in December. We can pull our tomatoes out and make something scrumptious.
More things with tomatoes and fresh veggies from our garden. A really nice, cool summer treat is a gazpacho, which is a soup from Spain, and it's cold, and it's so easy to make. We made it today in a blender. That's the easiest way, in a food processor or a blender. It would be really hard to make all these veggies fine enough, so you really do need to have an appliance really to make this soup. But we used about 3 medium-sized tomatoes today, and we used a couple of cloves of garlic and a small or medium-sized onion. Herbs, we used about 3 tablespoons of parsley and thyme today. And then we used a full English cucumber, or about, what was it, Brian, 2 cups of cucumber?
Yes.
So you're gonna do about 3 cups of tomatoes, 2 cups of cucumber, 1 cup of onion, and 1 bell pepper, which we've got here. And then we're gonna use some of these other ingredients as well. So all of our tomato ingredients are already made in this, and we added some 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and if you didn't have tomato paste, you could use some soft soaked bread, but we're not using that method today. And 3 cups of tomato juice, and a little bit of Tabasco, or how much Tabasco, a little or a lot, depending on how much you like, a little salt and pepper. So we prepared all of this in advance, pureed it smoothly, ready to go. It's been chilled. We recommend that you chill it for about 3 hours to make sure the ingredients start to marry and get all cozied up together. It's really better even if you make it the day before. You can do it the night before, and your meal or your dinner is ready to go for the next day. It's really nice to serve these soups, this type of soup, in a cold, chilled cup. So I'm gonna pour some of our gazpacho, move some of our ingredients out of the way. And, well, I made a mess, but that's okay. And then we've reserved some of our toppings. We have some chives here. One of them, we might want some red peppers, some chives, some cucumber. This is some nice Serrano ham that Brian crisped up. You could put bacon if you wanted. You could go veggie and not have any. And on the other one, we might do some cucumber again, so it's so fresh. Might do some of the chopped tomato on that other one. And we might put some nice crispy croutons on that one. And then we might, just for fun, put a small dollop of sour cream and a few chives right on top of that. Voila, we've got cold gazpacho.
Moving on to our warm tomato salad on thinly sliced baguette. We've cut a baguette on the bias, and we've brushed it with olive oil and grilled it. And then took a garlic clove once it came off and rubbed that clove right on the bread after it crisps up, just gives it that nice garlic pop. I've got a pan going in here with a couple tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And we've got about a tablespoon of minced garlic that we've already cut up. Once this pan gets nice and warm, first gonna start with our fresh grape tomatoes from our garden. Look at the color. And these tomatoes are gonna soften up and get all blistery and warm in that olive oil. I'm gonna hold off on the garlic for now because I don't want that to burn. I'm just gonna let these go. You can hear the sizzle. And while those are going, we've also pre-made some herb cream cheese. We've got softened cream cheese. Today we use parsley, a little bit of dill, and some fresh chopped chives, a tiny bit of garlic, and salt and pepper.
It's our mock version of that herb cheese you find in the grocery stores. It's so expensive.
So we've got that softened up. While our tomatoes cook, we're just gonna smear some of this on here. I can hear those tomatoes sizzling. I'm ready for them to start popping.
I can hear them over here.
This is a nice summertime treat to have. Julia's sitting around having a cold glass of iced tea, a lemonade. And it's real simple. Doesn't get much easier than this. If you didn't have time to make this cream cheese at home, like Pat said, you could always buy it pre-made, but we always say homemade tastes so much better. All right, our tomatoes are sizzling away here. See in action? Let's go. Just looking for that skin to start blistering. Once it does, we'll add our garlic and get that aromatics going inside this pan. We're just going to warm these through. We don't want them to get too mushy in here. It does smell dynamite. Okay, almost there. Get our garlic ready. Okay, we'll throw in our garlic. Now the smell's really going to take off.
I can smell it. It smells so good.
You don't want garlic to get brown because it gets a real bitter taste, so you got to keep an eye on it with garlic, especially when you're cooking with high heat. You just take that right off the heat now and just let those tomatoes roll around in that garlic to pick up that flavor. It smells amazing. Okay, look at that. Now, we just take some of these nice warm tomatoes. We're gonna spoon it right on our little slices of baguette. And that warm tomato is just gonna melt right into that cheese. So good.
That looks beautiful and delicious, Brian.
You should smell it. Great.
And all that fresh produce from our gardens.
That's right. All different colors, textures. You could even drizzle a little bit of balsamic vinegar over the top of this. If you had some kicking around as well, would be a nice touch. There you have it. Warm tomato salad on a grilled baguette with herb cream cheese.
Yum.
Moving on to our warm tomato salad on thinly sliced baguette. We've cut a baguette on the bias and we've brushed it with olive oil and grilled it. And then took a garlic clove once it came off and rubbed that clove right on the bread after it crisps up, just gives it that nice garlic pop. I've got a pan going in here with a couple tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And we've got about a tablespoon of minced garlic that we've already cut up. Once this pan gets nice and warm, first gonna start with our fresh grape tomatoes from our garden. Look at the color. And these tomatoes are gonna soften up and get all blistery and warm in that olive oil. I'm gonna hold off on the garlic for now because I don't want that to burn. I'm just gonna let these go. You can hear the sizzle. And while those are going, we've also pre-made some herb cream cheese. We've got softened cream cheese. Today we use parsley, a little bit of dill, and some fresh chopped chives, a tiny bit of garlic, and salt and pepper.
It's our mock version of that herb cheese you find in the grocery stores. It's so expensive.
So we've got that softened up. While our tomatoes cook, we're just gonna smear some of this on here. I can hear those tomatoes sizzling. I'm ready for them to start popping.
I can hear them over here.
This is a nice summertime treat to have while you're sitting around having a cold glass of iced tea, a lemonade. And it's real simple. Doesn't get much easier than this. If you didn't have time to make this cream cheese at home, like Pat said, you could always buy it pre-made, but we always say homemade tastes so much better. All right, our tomatoes are sizzling away here. Go. Just looking for that skin to start blistering. Once it does, we'll add our garlic and get that aromatics going inside this pan. We're just going to warm these through. We don't want them to get too mushy in there. It does smell dynamite. Okay, almost there. Got our garlic ready. Yeah, we'll throw in our garlic. Now the smell's really going to take off.
I can smell it smells so good.
You don't want garlic to get brown because it gets a real bitter taste, so you got to keep an eye on it with garlic, especially when you're cooking with high heat. You just take that right off the heat now and just let those tomatoes roll around in that garlic to pick up that flavor. It smells amazing. Okay, look at that. Now, we just take some of these nice warm tomatoes. We're gonna spoon it right on our little slices of baguette. And that warm tomato is just gonna melt right into that cheese. So good.
Garlic's beautiful and delicious, Brian.
You should smell it. Great.
And all that fresh produce from our gardens.
That's right. All different colors, textures. You could even drizzle a little bit of balsamic vinegar over the top of this if you had some kicking around as well, would be a nice touch. There you have it. Warm tomato salad on a grilled baguette with herb cream cheese.
Yum. And sometimes we want just a really easy go-to meal, and this time of year a BLT is so fun, so great, so fresh to do. Simple ingredients. Today we're using a soft sourdough bread toasted with a little mayonnaise on it. And we're gonna put some bacon on it too, of course. This bacon, we did a simple method, easy cleanup, where Brian roasted it off in the oven, used parchment paper. You can use aluminum foil as well, and in that way, it makes for easy cleanup. So you can put the strips down, put it on 350 for about 30 minutes, keep an eye on it, comes out really nice and crispy. Watch this crisp. Nice, huh? So we're gonna load up our bread with some nice planks of our thick cut crispy bacon that Brian made for us. And then we're gonna put some lettuce on. Nice fresh lettuces from our garden. And we're gonna top it off with some of our garden fresh tomatoes. I like a nice thick slice. You can use thin, this is the beauty. You can make this sandwich whatever way you like it. And for me, I need to have on tomatoes a little salt and pepper.
That makes two of us.
Like it. Not a lot, just a little. And we'll put the top on, we'll put the lid on, and we're gonna cut them on the bias. You can hear those juicy tomatoes. And our second one will come right along. Now the other thing that you can do too, a favorite of mine since childhood, I just like a nice piece of white bread with some Miracle Whip or some, for me, mayonnaise, and just freshly sliced tomatoes with a little salt and pepper. Nothing better than a fresh tomato sandwich out of your garden.
Welcome back. So lunch is on the table. It looks amazing. And we have a special guest with us today, as well as Pat and Brian, who were our chefs in the kitchen. We've invited Steve Manupelli from Old South Union Church in Weymouth. This is where we do all of our filming. And I've known Steve for a few years now. Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the work you do for Old South Church and how you came up to be, how you found the parish?
Well, I came to Old South 25 years ago or so. I was searching for a parish, a church in Weymouth, and the previous minister here, Terry Martinson, was a very involved in the community, so I knew of him. I was invited here by friends, and the atmosphere in this church is just so welcoming, and the services and the sermons were just so moving that this was where we stayed. And since then, you know, I got very involved. I'm currently the associate chair of deacons, and we do a lot of stuff for the town here, a lot of community work.
And you're very involved with the pop-up pantry.
Yes, I am. I am the chair of the steering committee with the Old South Union Pop-Up Pantry, and we've had well over 200 different volunteers, mostly from the church, but also from the community, take part in the pantry at this location.
Well, that's awesome. I know a lot of people who use the pantry pick their favorite kind of pop-up pantry, and I don't know if you know this, but Weymouth Food Pantry does outreach into the community through these pop-up food pantries. They're kind of like farmers market style. We don't have a brick and mortar location, so the partnerships that we have with our community are really, really special to us. And our relationship with Steve is even more so, because Steve also does a lot of food rescue for us and a lot of other things, initiatives to try and help support the pantry and really get as much food as you can out to people in need in our community.
I hate to see anything go to waste, and I worked in the supermarket business for 39 years, so I made a lot of contacts, and
Pays off.
yeah, it's good that we can capitalize on those contacts and make sure that stuff doesn't go to waste and we find good homes for the rescue.
Well, we're very grateful. So why don't you come on in here? I just want to give you a quick rundown of what we're going to eat and what's on the menu, and then we're going to tuck in. So we have Pat.
We have a cheese and charcuterie board here that we're featuring some of our Spanish things today. So because we have the Spanish gazpacho, we're doing some of the Spanish meats, chorizo and a Spanish salami, and we're doing some smoked salmon here with some bruschetta, and we're featuring some of our pickled items. We've got our pickled cucumbers with onions. We have our pickled carrots with red peppers, our pickled beets. We've got lots of multicolored radishes from the garden, tomatoes and olives, and of course our gazpacho. All of us topped our gazpacho the way we wanted it. We've got a nice fresh garden salad with our pickled eggs from the beet juice. We've got our BLTs, and we've got the warm tomato salad on bruschetta with our homemade cheese, herb cheese that Brian made.
So to tie this all back to the garden, the tomatoes came from our garden today, some of the cucumbers, the lettuce, and I think we've spoken before about how easy these things are to grow, take up no space at all, and they're the kind of thing that just give and give and give. So I am going to stop talking now so we can dig in, because I'm starving. Steve, why don't you go first? Would you like some salad?
I would love some salad.
Pickling just brings back so many fun memories for me. My mother was a huge gardener. I'm from South Dakota originally, as I've mentioned, and my mother had a full acre of garden. And I had 4 older brothers, so she would, as soon as she could can and make pickles, they would go through them. She said that she went through 500 quarts of pickles a summer with my father, my mother, and my 4 brothers, from the 6 of them, because it was pre-me. So this is all nostalgia for me. All this pickling stuff just brings back my farming roots and fresh produce and organically grown things. It's fun for me to do these kinds of things.
Thank you. And it's a great food saving tip too. So even if you don't have a garden and you don't have an abundance, using a cold brine over a cucumber that's about to pass by sell-by date in your fridge is a great way to make it available for your family for the next 6 weeks, as Pat said. So, hey, why not, right?
Right.
Plus tonight showed all the versatility of the tomatoes that we have, from a warm salad to the brining to being able to freeze these for 12 to 18 months to have them down the road and not let them go to waste, like Steve said. It's just a shame to let food go to waste.
And Steve is trying gazpacho for the first time tonight, so we're gonna wait to see what his reaction is.
Uh-oh. There's pressure.
It's a nice cold soup. It's really one of those things that if you want to make something quick, quick midnight, listen to me, well I'm hungry all the time, so that's why I think that way.
These radishes?
Yes,
Yes.
they are.
Even the big ones?
White, purple, pink, and red.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Very exciting.
I'm gonna put some of those pickled beets on my salad too. I love salad with beets. Brian, would you put some, or someone just take the tongs and put a couple beets on my salad for me? Thank you.
All right, I'm even gonna try a beet.
Good for you,
50
Steve.
some odd years, never having one. I'm gonna.
There's no cumin in it, so you can be happy. Yeah.
You don't eat cumin?
No, not a big fan.
We have Mexican on the mission trip. We gotta make sure we make Steve a little,
We get one rice dish with no spices.
I just had one of these pickled cucumbers and they really are nice and vinegary all the way through. So how long did these actually sit now before we dished up?
Well, about an hour.
About an hour?
About an hour.
That's incredible.
Yeah. We got it. And then they'll be nicer tomorrow and the next day too, but about an hour on those. And the cucumbers are the ones we used with just a room temperature brine, so we didn't cook them as much.
They're delicious.
Okay, beets are all right.
You like these?
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
do beets?
I'll do beets.
Okay.
I've missed them for 58 years, but I'm going for them now.
What did
That
you
was
say
good.
about the gazpacho?
nothing yet?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet?
There we go.
Mm.
Got a little kick to it.
Got it. I think it's delicious.
It's very good. Very, very good.
You could also make it with melon and it doesn't have to be just tomatoes. There's all kinds of different gazpacho variations.
Right. Cold soups in summertime are tons of fun.
They are. So what would be your favorite combination if you made one with melon? Just because I feel like putting you on the spot.
Probably watermelon with some fresh basil mixed in
Basil
with
in
it,
it.
which would be,
Take a little balsamic vinegar in it, maybe?
yeah.
That does sound amazing.
Especially like you said, it's gotta be cold.
I'm so excited about that. Just
Well, that's what's fun about the kitchen, and we keep saying this, is that whatever flavors you like, you can just turn your palate into anything that you like. Pair that with what's going on in your pantry, and you can have a field day.
That's right.
And I think the thing that we would love for you to take home more than anything else is that don't be afraid to experiment or try something new. Just do your thing and have fun.
definitely don't be afraid to try something new.
There we go.
Case in point.
All right, well, I'm going to sign off now. We're going to finish our meal and carry on chatting, but next time
We're gonna ask you to join us next time. We're gonna tell you all about what to make and how to use leftover bread, things that you're kicking around, how we can make something savory, how we can make something sweet. So join us for what to do with your leftover bread.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you and take care.
All right.